everyone, Nicole here, and I'm about ready to do a pretty basic food shoot, so I thought I'd take you all along for the ride. This is my setup right here. It's really just a simple table. It's a metal table, and I just have some wood boards on top of it, and that's pretty much what I use for all of my food photography. Sometimes I put the table, or I get a different setup and I put it closer to the ground if I'm gonna do kind of a shoot down on top of things, but most of what I shoot is straight on, so I usually use a standard table. And it's in that closet back there houses a lot of my food photography props and dishes and whatnot. I'm actually just inside of my office. I'll show you a quick pan of my office. There's some shelves. There's my desk. I have a bunch more shelves back here. It's kind of messy, and I got a lot of pottery and some camera gear. So that's my basic setup for my food. Really simple. You don't need much. Before I actually get to the photography, I thought I'd show you my camera setup. I have a Canon 5D Mark III, and that's a Canon 100 macro lens on it, which is really, really good for food photography. I absolutely love it. I get a really nice compression in the background. And my setup here, my tripod setup, is actually, I call it my Frankenpod because I have so many different things on here. This right here, this curvy looking thing, is actually, it's called a custom bracket, and it allows me to tilt, there it is right there, you can actually see the logo. It allows me to tilt my camera from horizontal to vertical really quickly, which I find is really useful when I'm doing food because sometimes I want to change things up. And then I have a Benro 3-way pan and tilt head on top of a very sturdy and very old Manfrotto tripod. This thing weighs a ton, and it pretty much just stays at home just for my food photography. So I have everything set up here just to start. I always prepare a really basic setup with just the dishes that I plan on using for my shoot. Right now you can see I have 3 small little ramekins. I'll get this in a little closer so you can see what this looks like. I just got this, I should have bought these on Amazon, but I think you can get them in grocery stores as well. And I'm just pretty much placing it on my table where I think that the food is gonna actually work. I never cook the food before I put things on the table to see how they fit. Sometimes the actual dishes and utensils that I use will change, but I have to have a good starting point and kind of pre-visualize what everything's going to look like before I actually cook it or prepare the food. I'm not cooking anything for this. It's just a really simple yogurt parfait. But so I have 3, so I have a nice uneven number of little ramekins here, and then I threw a couple of these tiny little spoons here. I've had these for a while, and I keep trying to find a reason to use them. So I've got these guys here just to kind of add a little bit of substance there in the background of the shot. I'm not really gonna do a test shot with it empty. I usually want to have something in there, and so I have this little napkin, and this isn't gonna make a good stand-in because what I'm shooting is actually like a vanilla yogurt parfait. So I'm just gonna set that in there. Sometimes it gives it height that I can't always anticipate when I'm doing my actual shooting for my stand-in. So I'm gonna go ahead and focus, and I do that by zooming in on my screen, and then I just toggle over to the right spot. I'm not too concerned with the focus here because this is just a test shot. I'm in aperture priority mode at f5.6 ISO 100. Okay, this is actually looking really nice. I'm not going to make any changes at this point. I'll probably do a lot more changes when I actually have the food in the bowls. So let's go ahead and go from here. All right, I'm ready to put together my actual food for my shoot. I have my 3 ramekins here. They're all identical, and I'm gonna focus on this one being kind of my hero food item. So I'm gonna make sure that this one looks the absolute best. The other 2 are gonna be mostly in the background, so they pretty much just have to have the substance that I need for an out of focus shot. So I'm gonna start out, I'm gonna go ahead, I haven't photographed this yet, so I'm not really sure how this is gonna look, but I'm gonna start out by just putting some granola on the bottom of each of them to give it a little bit of foundation inside of the dish. I'm always referring back to my actual camera too, just to kind of see how everything looks. Now this is the yogurt, and what I'm doing is I'm just gonna stir it up until it gets really creamy. All right, so got that. I'm just gonna put a dollop at the bottom, let it fall. It's not what it's, well, you know, the beauty of this is since they're all identical, if I get one that starts to look a little bit better, then I'll just go with that one. Keep going here. All right. I'm thinking this one is starting to look a little bit better. That one might be okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and add more granola. I've got these really big chunks in the granola, and I really see that. I'm kind of going for like the smaller bits and not really these. I'm just leaving those on the side. I'm really trying to fill this with a lot of the granola because I want to make sure that the food comes up over the top. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, just, you know, a little bit over, because I'm not really shooting down onto it. I'm shooting more at an angle. Okay, I had more granola in the kitchen, so I can get more if I need some more for garnish. But let's go ahead and start with this back one. I'm gonna open up another yogurt. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a good mix. Let's go ahead and just try this out. I'm not really going for perfection. I want it to look real. All right, now I'm consulting the back of my camera to kind of see how things are looking. I'm looking on the sides of each of them to find the area that has the most layering. I think I really like this one right here, so I'm gonna swap these two out. Now, and you notice I'm using a paper towel. I just don't want to spill anything on this, and it mostly is gonna go when I start adding the pomegranates here, which is gonna be really soon here. All right, so this is gonna be my main one right in the front, and I have a little tiny bit of yogurt left, so I'm just kind of stirring this up to try and get one last little dollop on the top. That might be a little too much. Just to give it a little bit more height. Okay. So that's it for the yogurt. Now I'm gonna sprinkle on some of these granolas. I usually don't start with the one that's in the front. I usually want to start with something that's in the back. That way, if I kind of discover a technique that works better, then I don't ruin the first one because of it. Go ahead and okay, I am kind of liking that one. I might see if I can work that one into the front, depending on the angle that I'm shooting. All right, last but not least, the star of the show here is the pomegranate seeds. So let's go ahead and add some of these. See there, that probably would have got on the hardwood tabletop. Okay, I'm gonna stop here and just kind of reposition things back close to where they were before. Set everything off to the side. Okay, so now it's time to just reposition everything in the frame so that it actually works well, kind of with that same composition I had before. Now, there were these like there's these flat parts of the, where there's no bump. I don't know if you can see it, but right here it's like a flat part, and I don't want that to be the front of my shoot. I kind of want to just keep those bumpy parts. So I'm going to set it right there. You can see it's kind of in the lower, not quite center. I don't want it right in the middle. Do a quick focus check there. And now I'm going to position these guys so that there's space between them in the frame, so that they're not really, so this part, and so the way that I have my camera angled, that this part is not touching this part, if that makes sense. I don't want them to intersect. I like to kind of keep things separated. And then I'll position my little wood spoons kind of back where they were. You can't necessarily tell what they are, but it adds a little bit of color. And I might move them around a little bit while I'm shooting. And I'm going to use, one of the things I use a lot with my photography is I use these foam board. And all it is I took foam board, I cut it down the middle, I folded it in half, and then I gaffer taped it. You can kind of see where I taped it. And then it's kind of a bookend. So I can set it upright and add a really nice soft diffusion to my food. And I can usually get up really close with these too. And sometimes I'll add some on the right as well. I don't want to over diffuse it. I don't want it to just be this flood of light on the image. I like there to be backlight a little bit from the side. Sometimes I do diffuse it from the right. It just really depends on the food and the utensils and the plates and everything that I'm actually using. So again, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I don't know if you can see this in my screen there, but I zoom in. And then I'll just move down to where I think is a good spot to focus. Focus in, manual focus, and now zoom out. And I always use a cable release when I'm on a tripod, and that includes food photography. And I also am usually pretty careful because I'm on a wood floor here, and if I move, and it might even move the video there if I'm walking around, it'll shake my tripod a little bit, so I'm really careful to not move around. Sometimes, and oftentimes like right now I'm shooting at 1/3 of a second, just because it's kind of dark in here, and obviously I don't want any camera shake. So sometimes I'll set my camera up, set the focus, and then I'll just kind of pause for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then I actually take the picture. So I'm really, really liking what I have here. This first shot here actually might be a really good keeper. But so I always kind of start out with the frame that I think I want the most. And then after that, I move around. And I'm actually, let me try one thing though before I actually move around too much. I'm just gonna use another white foam board and kind of place it in the front there, because you can't really see the what's inside of the plate, or I'm sorry, inside of the ramekin. But if I actually put a little whiteboard right in front, then it kind of brings light back into that part. I think that actually added a really nice touch to that. So now I'm just gonna kind of keep moving around. I'll move my camera around, find different angles. I'm sure I'll do a horizontal. Right now I'm gonna stick with the vertical. Another thing I'm usually pretty conscious of when I'm shooting on tables like this are the actual lines in the back there. I don't like them to be crooked in my frame, and so I actually need to reposition myself in my camera because I just took a shot and it was a little crooked in that background. So let me try that once again. All right, I'm gonna reposition real quickly. I always try and watch the back of my camera while I'm repositioning too. All right, that's nice. Now in that last frame, I cut off a little tiny bit of the spoon right here, and I have everything else is completely in the shot, so I'm gonna make sure that that also makes it into the frame as well. Oops, I bumped that a little bit. A lot of times it's just really moving things in almost millimeters to get everything positioned properly. There's a lot more to it, to a composition of food photography than you think. Now you can see this is actually white on the back. It's blue on that side, so you know I'm actually bouncing white onto the food there. All right, let's go ahead and switch to some horizontal shots. Now I'm gonna get low for these. Oops, zoom way. My clunky tripod. I think I'm correct there. Everything needs to be tightened, it looks like. I'll take care of that after the shoot is finished. There we go. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to move my food items around in order to do a vertical shot, because it's set up very long for a vertical. So I'm gonna set this down temporarily while I'm positioning everything. So this guy is gonna go right here. I'll move my little spoons there, and then just kind of move everything else. Let's see, that goes into the corner. Oftentimes, this is the corner of my frame. If it's like a square like this is like the corner right here, and I kind of like to push things off the corner. That's always a nice compositional little thing to keep in mind. I don't even know where this one's gonna fit. Sometimes it's hard to find things and fit things well so that they fit. You know, that I can go really, I'm gonna get really tight on this. And get a little lower as well. The nice thing about being high up is that you can usually kind of cut the background out of your shot. So I'm not getting that white diffusion panel. Let's do that. Okay, I'm getting there. Feels like I need something back here though to balance it out. So I might just take this foldy little napkin, just kind of set it off to the side. Yeah, that looks actually, that kind of completes the shot there. I'll show you. Let me go ahead and do a before and after so you can see the difference. I'm gonna do a quick focus. So there, that's without the napkin. I'm just making sure that this and that in my frame are not touching. Or getting close enough at least. All right. So there's that before and after, with and without that napkin. You know, I have, now these two things right here are touching, and I'm gonna move that back and see if I like it better without. It's not a steadfast rule that things can't like intersect in your frame, but a lot of the times I'm pretty conscious of it. I don't really like it happening, so I'm gonna refocus. It's always a good idea to refocus, even if you don't think anything's changed. When you're this close to the food, it's hard to tell. So that little bit of light right in the front. There we go. Very nice. right, real quickly, I wanted to show you guys one of my favorite tools that I use with food photography, and that is this diffusion panel right here. This thing, you know, it's not really super bright outside, but you can see that there is a little bit of light shining through. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what it's like with and without the diffusion panel behind there. So I'll do a quick shot without it. And all it's really doing is just softening the light that's coming in from behind. Now, if you have a north-facing window, you might not need it, but it also cuts out the intensity of the light. And sometimes you want to balance the light in a certain way, and softening that light that's coming from behind can really work well with these diffusion panels. So I'll go ahead and take another shot. Now this is with the diffusion panel. So you can see how I was actually able to kind of bring back a lot of the tones in the tabletop by using that panel. Without it, it kind of adds a little bit of glare in the back, and there's only so much that you can do to bring that back without it. Now this is a tri-grip diffusion panel, which means the reason it's great is if you're doing any type of other photography, you can actually hold it with your hand like that. Why I like it is because it has a solid, flat surface. It's not a circle. Circles tend to roll around if you try and stick them at the end of your table. It would work well, just as well, if I were to set it up on my table like that. I happen to have a window, like a little ledge on my window, and it just works out perfectly to set back there like that. So, highly recommend these. They're really good products for tabletop food photography. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them into the comments.